Inflation, is it a big deal? Is it not a big deal? What's truly going on? And historical examples of why inflation is crushing the middle class, crushing the poor, crushing everybody. And the most important question of our time right now, what is money? Really, what is inflation and deflation? But what is money truly? What is money? My definition is that it's a container. It's an economic container for your time and energy. That's all it is. Before we get into these, this is my definition. Just a little thing I wrote up just a couple weeks ago. What is money? At the end of the day, it is a container. Your time and energy is here. You put in your work, which is filled up with your time and energy, your blood, sweat, and tears, and you pour that into a container. Money. Money needs to be a store of value. This is a trick, the game that's being played on every single person, and why they can't get off the rat wheel, the rat race, out of the rat race, and off the wheel and into prosperity. This is why you're having to play, games, arbitrage, become a real estate investor, become a stock investor, do all these fancy things, go out the risk curve, just in order to get ahead and to have more month at the end of your money. What kind of world is this? This is a clown world. This is peak fiat world. This is peak inflation world. When you debauch the currency, as the communists knew to do, when you debauch the currency, you have the people in the palm of your hand. You can crush them. You can crush capitalism and free markets when you debauch the currency. That's the point of central banking. That's the point of central banks. Again, this is an incredible book, The Capitalist Manifesto. Can't even see it, it's blurred out, by Robert Kiyosaki. It has 1,000 quotes in here of why they wanted to debauch the currency. This is why. Your time and energy is poured into a container. Right here. Boom. Nothing in it. When it's a store of value, it actually contains properties of store of value. Your wealth can't leak out. However, this is what we have right now. We have our time and energy, that work being poured into a container with a hole in it. That's inflation. That's debasement. That's currency printing. That's manipulation. That's financial repression. Whatever you want to call it, whatever word you hear on TV, it's a container with a hole in it. And that wealth is just slipping out of there every day while you sleep, while you go to work, while you hang out on the weekends, while you go on vacation. That wealth is being transferred to the ruling class, to the unproductive class, who get to sprinkle it around to their own bank accounts, to their friends, to their families, to their pet projects, to the cylinders of the world, to their proxy wars. They get to go put it in their friends' boondoggles that we get to pay for. So they get to type digits in the computer that take no time, effort, or energy to do. But that time, energy, and effort, that proof of work needs to come from somewhere. So it's taken from all of us. That time and energy, that work that we put in. Really is cogs in a machine. Have you ever seen The Matrix? That's literally what's going on. It's just humans strapped to, even though we don't think we are, it's deception. We don't think we're just strapped to a machine having the life force energy sucked out of us. But in reality, we are. We just don't have shackles on. We go to work every day. We go pay our taxes, do our patriotic duty, and we go give that to the tax man and the government, and they get to do whatever the hell they want with it. Whatever they damn well please. They get to do whatever they want. Go put it anywhere. Throw ads back in our face, propaganda back in our face, things we don't even believe in. But yet they're just pushing narratives, pushing propaganda on us to get you to believe for your own safety, for your own security. That is the travesty. How do we fix that? Again, money is a container for your time and energy, but we don't have one. Broken money are really fiat currencies. We don't have money. Money has the characteristic of store value. Currencies have all these other characteristics except store value. It's a medium of exchange, it's a unit of account, it's portable, divisible, durable, all those things. But it doesn't have store of value. Money, on the other hand, sound money, true money, has all of those plus store of value as the final characteristic that gives it the moniker of money, the true moniker of money. Well, what has that? Bitcoin. Bitcoin is the hardest asset known to man. Gold and silver are right there behind them. They're the best we had for thousands of years until Satoshi Nakamoto discovered and put all of these characteristics together and discovered Bitcoin. This is the true discovery, the technological revolution that we are in now, where you can now make a finite trade, an equal trade, equal footing. Finite time, it's the only asset we have it for that was finite. We couldn't get more of it. Now we can trade equally for something else that's finite. There'll only be 21 million Bitcoin ever. Bitcoin and time and Bitcoin. where gold and silver still had small inflation rate each year because people are mining more of it. So it was a very, very slow leakage. But these fiat currencies, government currencies, are getting destroyed all the time. I mean, Ghana's having problems, Venezuela, UK, Sri Lanka's collapsing, Argentina's gone through 5 collapses, Zimbabwe had a hyperinflation 10 years ago. These continue to happen over and over again because they're backed by nothing. They're just government putting a gun to your head saying, hey, pay in this legal tender. It's worth what I say it's worth. Well, no, it's not, because the free market eventually has their way. That's why all these currencies down here, as you can see, are going to zero over time, and they will keep trending to zero and will mathematically end up at zero. And they're dang near there already. So that's why gold and silver continue going up in time over time, and why Bitcoin, with such a short track history of only 13 years, has gone exponentially higher, because it's the only fair, equitable trade. A smart investor would say, I'm not going to go sell my car. Let's say your car on the side of the road. You're going to go trade that for what, blades of grass or grains of sand? Things are infinite? No, of course you wouldn't do that. So why would you trade your finite time, the most precious asset you have? Why would you go trade that for anything that is not infinite, anything less than something that's equally finite? That makes no sense. Yet we do it all the time. We've done it our entire lives. All of us, our parents, our grandparents, our great-grandparents. We've all done this since at least 1913, where we go trade our finite time for things that are infinite, grains of sand. That is the worst trade, the worst investment you could ever make. This is why, again, this is not financial advice. This is freedom advice, as I like to say. This is why I save in Bitcoin, the hardest asset we have ever known. It's incorruptible, immutable, permissionless, trustless, meaning no one can tell us what to do, who to send it to, final settlement. It's incredible. It has all the characteristics. And this is why money is a winner-take-all game. The hardest money, the best money will win. This is why all the altcoins, all the scam coins, they're all going to zero. All the fiat currencies are already trending towards zero the last 100 years and will continue towards zero and beyond. And all fiat currencies in history, as Mike Maloney says, have all ended up at zero. They will all continue to do that. There's a 100% failure rate with fiat currencies. Sound money. The wealth gap is the most pressing issue we have as a society. It's not climate change or energy usage or global warming or global cooling. It's not any of that. It's the wealth gap. Those people at the top that we elect in, for the most part, there's a lot of bureaucrats there and that we don't, but we have the power, the say to remove these people, and yet we let them steal from us constantly and take our wealth by printing more currency, by handing out stimmy checks, by giving more boondoggles, and by passing more infrastructure bills and pork barrel, whatever it is. I mean, it's absolute insanity. Every time you have something, the government give you something, it's taking a little bit of your soul. Every time the government gives you something, you're trading some of your freedom for a little bit of perceived security. We know how that ends up. This is the fight of our lives, to decrease that gap. That is what we are all should be going after and working on, because that gap keeps getting wider and wider and wider. More civil unrest, more tension comes about. We know this. This is a fact. This has been done throughout history so many times. We do not want to end up like Back to the Future 2, Biff Tannen's Pleasure Paradise, when you have to go get gas and sit in your car at a gas station with a shotgun in your car. That's not what we want. Our kids, our grandkids, our families have to live in that world. You could have all the wealth in the world, all the money, but if you're having to tiptoe over fires and people on the streets dying and fights and civil unrest, it's not going to matter how much wealth you have, because every corner of the globe is going to be like that, and it's slowly starting to creep all over the world. The unrest, the protests, the riots. We're seeing them in Brazil. We're seeing them all over the world, all over Europe. We're seeing them in Canada, the Dutch, Sri Lanka, people storming the palace. This is going to happen more and more as the wealth gap continues to widen, because we know the central banks will have to continue to print currency. So the wealth gap will continue to widen. We know this as well because the IMF has told us that this much. Financial repression, Ben Bernanke, why deflation cannot happen here. The papers in 2002 and then IMF in 2012, I believe it was. I have seen this story play out. I have seen this story with my own eyes play out through my study, through my investing, through my business, over and over again. We have to secure the most profitable trade for ourselves and our family. Get resilient, get independent, store our monetary value, our time and energy into a finite asset, a container that has no holes in it. It's the only one I know of. And just to show you exactly what's going on and how bad inflation truly is, look at 1938, a new house. And again, new house, there's a couple things in here that you could say are better. And the government gets away with things because they say, oh, well, that thing's better now, so that's why it costs more. And it's just obfuscation. It's just, they're just lying to you and hoping you don't understand what's going on. So, a new house, just say it's a brick ranch, right? Just say a brick ranch was $3,900 in 1938. Well, guess what? That same brick ranch is now $25,000. That's incredible. That's absolutely incredible. That it's gone up. What is that for? 6 times or whatever that for? 5, 6 times in that span, in just what, 33 years. Average income, and this is the crazy part, wages actually kept up. And this is why things were a little bit obfuscated even back then. Prices were going up because of inflation, but the average income pretty much went up. So you look at a new house was about 4,000. Average income, we'll say 1,700. Well, it's about 2.5 times your average income to get a new house. The average income in 1971 was 10,000. Well, about 2.5 times that was the average new house. So again, the average, their median price house is probably about $300,000 or $400,000 today. So just to say it's $400,000, you would have to have, or just say 350. We'll make it even easier. So the average income would have to be what, $150,000 or so, somewhere around there, just to get ahead, or 175 or something like that. $150,000, 2.5 times as much. So you would have, 150. So 350. So it'd have to be 150. Would have to be the median salary, the average salary, and in order to afford the median income, if wages were going to keep up. And right now the median, what's the median? 40, 50, $60,000 a year. So we're 3-4 times below where we should be. This is why the wealth gap is continuing to increase, why people can't afford things, why people are at each other's necks, they're at each other's throats. There's so much division because of this, because of currency printing, because of typing digits in a computer, because of central banks, because of governments being way out over their skis and sucking the wealth away from everyone. And as we know, as we've shared here before, we know, it was in 1943, I believe, it was the paper in American Affairs, and it explains why taxes are obsolete. I believe the article's name is Why Taxes Are Obsolete. Absolute clown world. And they actually go through it and outline. It's the head of the New York Fed, I believe, and he goes through and talks about why it's not needed, because we print our own currency, and what they actually tax for. Long story short, it's just to coerce people into, just curry political favor, basically. That's literally, there's a bunch of bullet points there, and we've shared this many times before. You can go back and look at our other videos. That's what it was for. They literally are telling you, we do it just to screw with people and just, punish certain people and coerce people into doing what we want them to do. And we let that fly. We all sit here like clowns. I mean, we might as well just be painting clown paint on our face and driving around in clown cars. It's just absolutely insane how we let this happen. So you can go through here, you can see just over and over again, the movie ticket in 1938, it's 25 cents. It's $1.50. It's 6 times as much. It's just, in only 33 years. And again, I'm not even showing you what it is now. I mean, what's the average movie ticket now? $20, $15? So it's, from 1971, 50 years later, it's $15, 15 times, 15x, 20x. It's unbelievable. Look at the average stamp, went from 3 cents to 8 cents. Now average stamp's like 60 cents. So 64, that's 8. It's 8 times much, 5, 6, 7, 8 times as much. Just absolute clown world. And I can't think of another term other than saying clown world, because there's a lot of bad things I want to say, but that's the only thing I can say, because we let this happen. We are the ones that let this happen. We are the government. The government and the bureaucrats work at the consent of the governed. And again, we can get into bureaucrats aren't elected. I get it, but like, they usually are put into power by elected people. They are there to work for us, and we let this happen. It's our responsibility. It's not, they. Jeff always says it's very good. Like, who's they? Like, we are the government. Like, you have the choice to become the government, or vote for the government, or get into government. Like, we are those people. It's our fault. We are the ones that have let this happen. If you don't trust elections and whatever, that's your fault, because you voted for terrible people, and all of your neighbors have voted for terrible people for decades, and let it get to a point where they now can obfuscate things so much, and they can screw with things so much that we don't even know what's going on. So it's all of our fault. As long as we start taking responsibility for ourselves, our life, getting independent, getting resilient, relying less on the government, the more independence, more freedom we will have in our life, and the more prosperity and wealth we'll have. The wealth gap will start shrinking. We have a sound money where people, no matter if you work at McDonald's or if you work at Goldman Sachs, if you live on less than you make, then you can start saving in the hardest asset in the world, and your purchasing power can continue going up in the same way, no matter if you're at the top or you're at the bottom. Meaning we can all get wealthier over time, truly by saving and letting our capital appreciate, and then eventually getting off the hamster wheel and being able to retire with dignity and actually have capital preserved and not have to just feel like we have to keep spending it constantly because of inflation and it's going to be gone. And that is where the two forks in the road come in wrapping this all up. CBDCs. We want more of the same. We want more of this. We want more clown world. We then go for CBDCs, central bank digital currencies. We want more slavery, more surveillance, government telling you what you can or can't do with your money, shutting it off, shutting it down if you leave the city, or shutting it if you leave the state or leave the country. Then CBDCs are for you. If you want freedom, if you want sovereignty, if you want liberty, accountability, responsibility, merit in your life, Bitcoin is the way for you. Two roads diverge in the wood. We are at that crossroads as a people, as a world, as a country, as Americans, as Westerners. We have that in front of us. What is it we're going to choose? That is my question to you. That's a question for all of us. I know what I choose. I choose freedom every day, all day, and I'll fight for that. I'll fight for anyone's right to life, liberty, pursuit of happiness, no matter what, whether I agree with you or not. That's a choice we all have to make. Honor, integrity, and holding to that word, regardless. Appreciate your time and energy and listening in here. Please put your comments and your thoughts below of what's going on in my case for this and what's happening in inflation and the solution for this. In my thing, like I said, financial freedom, that's great. Me having it, that's wonderful. But if the wealth gap keeps going up and up and up, it doesn't matter. To me, everything's shifted. The last couple of years have really turned my eyes to, oh my gosh, we need to serve more people. Bucky Fuller, the more people you serve, doing more with less, the more you serve, the more you'll get. That is the game to me now. It is, how can we save the most amount of people possible? Because people are being hurt by their governments, by their currency, being told what they can or can't transact in, what kind of money they need, what kind of money they should have. This is not how it's supposed to be. It's time to get back to first principles, nature's law, sound money. So people can make decisions for their lives instead of governments and bureaucrats making decisions for their lives. So please let me know your comments below, and please share it. Please like and subscribe. Please share with someone that you think might like this, or maybe they don't like it, and we can battle it out in the comments as well. Please let me know what else you'd like to see us talk about, how we can better inform, educate, and pose questions to make us think differently. And like I always say as well, it's not free financial advice. This is freedom advice. Get resilient, get independent, because we're going to need it more than ever going forward. And appreciate your time, your energy. It's the most important asset we have. Like we said earlier, Bitcoin is time and time is Bitcoin. They're the only two finite assets I know of. If you know of another finite asset, truly finite, I mean actually finite, please let me know. Put it in the comments. I look forward to seeing you on the next one.